Hey guys, it's Chase with Southwest Indiana Outdoors, and today I'm going to go over my fishing rod and reel lineup for 2025. As you can see, I have my rods behind me here, and the first thing I am going to speak on is the importance of protecting your rods. I use the Rod Glove Tournament Series. These rod gloves are awesome. They are neoprene. You can, hit them with your hooks. These rods ride in my truck probably 75% of the year, and I've not had any issues with damage. The hooks do, hit the other rods most of the time, and they don't stick in them. So you can take a hook and actually stick in this neoprene, and it pulls right back out. No issues, no snags, any issues like that. Very, very important to protect your investment, and my fishing rods are very much an investment. I have some money tied up into these, and I want to keep them on the water with me. I put my rods through a lot of abuse on the water, and I don't want them to be abused while riding in my truck to and from the water. So the way I'm going to lead out is, first I'm going to go over my most used rod, and that is this one right here. This is my Yakrods Y BFS rod. This rod is a ultralight fast action rod, and I mean, if you guys have been around for very long, you know that the YBFS is without a doubt my most used rod. So yeah, 6'8" ultralight rod, fast action, 1/16 to 1/4. I've actually thrown all the way down to 1/32 with this rod. I think with the right reel, you can even go a little lower than that, but 1/32 is a good size. Right now, I have a small spinnerbait on it, so that's what I've been throwing recently. Hoping to get out there and get my crankbaits back to use as soon as it warms up a little bit. Yeah, so Yakrods, as you guys have watched for a little while, they do have the tether system on them. This is the old style tether system. I will actually go through the new style tether system with some of my other rods as I get to it. I am going to be upgrading all of my rods and adding that new tether style system. But as of right now, sticking with this. This has been a very great rod for me. I've caught so many fish on it. And I know ultralight. A lot of people hear ultralight and they think, well, that's panfish. You're fishing for panfish, fishing for trout, stuff like that. This rod has caught 5-pound bass on it. This is an awesome rod. It's got a lot of backbone to still fight those bigger fish, even though it is that ultralight action. And currently on it, I have the Kastking Kestrel BFS reel. I did run the Kastking Zephyr on it for quite a while. It's a fine reel. It's just not the same quality as the Kestrel. Kestrel is a much better reel. Really liking it. It does have the clicker. I don't know if you guys can hear that. As you're fighting fish, it does click when the drag's being peeled out, and then your star drag clicks along with your spool tension. So again, love this rod. It is by far my most used rod. I'm going to use this anywhere from when I go creek wading, hitting the local pond close to work, and then obviously out of the kayak. So caught a lot of fish with this rod. Next in my lineup is another rod that I use a lot. You guys seen me use this one a ton during our championship tournament back in October. So this is the Yakrods X Chatter. The X Chatter is a 7'2" medium heavy fast action, and it is a bladed jig rod, as you can see here. Currently, I actually just have a jig tied on. This is the rod I use for throwing jigs as well. I do plan on picking up just a jig rod at some point, but as of right now, this rod's done well for jigs. But yeah, for bladed jigs, if I'm throwing a chatterbait, unless I'm throwing a mini max, which the mini max I actually throw on the BFS rod, but if I'm throwing a chatterbait, 3/8 ounce or bigger, it is going to be on this rod right here. And you guys seen I caught a ton of fish on the on this rod with the 3/8 ounce mini max. Like I said, mini max, if I'm throwing a 1/4 ounce, it's on the other rod, my BFS rod. But yeah, so I caught a ton of fish on the 3/8 ounce mini max on this rod at my championship. And it's a great rod. I've had it for a little over a year now and have caught tons of fish on this as well. This is my second most used rod. This was the third rod that I actually got from Yakrods. The first one being the drop shot rod, which my wife actually uses now. And then the BFS rod, and then X Chatter. And I am so glad that I got this. I honestly should have got this earlier. I really just got into chatterbait fishing the year before last. And last year, I really put that chatterbait to work. And you guys seen I caught a lot of good fish on a chatterbait, including, again, that championship tournament where a chatterbait really paid off for me. Caught more of my fish than any other lure. It did not catch my biggest fish, but caught more of my fish than any other lure. The next rod in the lineup is part of the Foundation series rods. So the Foundation series is a 3 rod system. So this is the 6'8". This is the 6'8" medium heavy fast action for jigs and moving baits. I actually have used this one a ton for throwing my buzz baits, which buzz baits are what I caught a lot of fish on late in the year last year. So this is one of the rods that actually does utilize that new tether system. So it is a magnetic tether system. You got to put some force into it, but that tether holds very well. I could throw this rod in the water without a doubt and not have any issues with this magnet holding. And it just goes right back in. And the nice thing about this is I can have one tether tethered to me or tethered to the kayak. And as I'm switching rods, switch that tether between this rod and my other Foundation Pro rods, which again, I'm going to upgrade all of my rods to this tether setup as soon as possible. Yeah, so I'm going to throw, you know, I'm going to throw my whopper plopper on here. I'll throw heavier crankbaits on this rod, but this rod did awesome with a buzz bait and also did well with a like soft-bodied toad. So I threw a toad a little bit last year. You guys seen that I caught some fish on that. I threw that mostly with this rod. I did throw it with my frog rod some, but mostly with this rod right here. So this is a great, you know, kind of all-purpose rod. I think you can throw a little bit of everything on here. It's got good backbone, and yet it can throw some of the little bit smaller lures as well. Next is a rod that, again, I mentioned frog fish. So frogs are something that I'm really new to throwing over the last year. I worked pretty hard on them last year. You guys seen that I missed a ton of fish on frog, but this is my frog rod. So on this, of course, you can see I've got a glide bait on here. This is a glide bait from 12 Oaks Custom. And I'm throwing that on here, and I'm throwing my hollow body frogs. It's got a lot of backbone. This is a heavy cover rod, 6'10", heavy, fast action. So great rod. Really enjoyed this last year. Again, really trying to get familiar with that frog fishing, and something that I really expect to do quite a bit more this year, especially now that I have a kayak that I can stand in. I think that was one of my big issues last year, is not having a kayak to be able to stand up in. And frog fishing, being able to work that frog the right way, I think makes a big difference. I'm really excited to throw some glide baits this year. Now, I do plan to pick up, probably the next rod I'll pick up is going to be the Big Botho from Yakrods. And that rod is made for throwing big swim baits, glide baits. So really excited to do that this year and get into throwing those more. I think that they'll be a big player when I go to some of the kayak adventure series and fish for, you know, some of those big smallmouth up there. But I'm going to be throwing this glide bait some, you know, as spring hits and trying to get some fish on it. I'll probably throw it some the next time I go out. But again, this uses the new tether system. So as you can see, no tether in there. I just pull the tether from that other rod and I can put it into this. So as I'm switching rods from my Blackpak, I untether it, put it in the Blackpak. The Blackpak has a tether that actually holds the rods into it, and switch them out like that. And then I can just put my tether straight into this and don't have a whole bunch of tethers on my boat right by me. Then the last rod, for you guys that have been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that starting out, all I threw was spinning gear. That's what I had all the time. I didn't have any confidence with a bait caster. I had a lot of issues with backlashes because I never grew up, fishing with a bait caster. It was more spin cast reels than anything. And then I got into spinning gear and kind of, fell in love with spinning gear. And that's just what stuck with me. So now, over the last year and a half, I've got to where I fish more casting gear than anything else. And I fish more casting gear than anything else. But it's still nice to have that spinning rod. This is going to be something that I'm throwing a lot more of my, ultra finesse gear on. Obviously, my BFS rod can throw that too, but I really like the BFS rod for more power finesse fishing. So my micro crankbaits, the small chatterbaits, any of my smaller gear that is moving, I really like throwing on that BFS rod. So this is more for my presentations like the Ned rig. And right now, as you can see, I've got a crappie jig on there with this is a curly tail grub from Dadfish Tackle. So this is a 7-foot medium fast action rod. And these rods are so sensitive. I'll say you can feel any bite. You guys did see me use this a little bit for a Texas rig as well and catch some fish on it earlier in the year of last year. But something that I'm really working on is Texas rig also. So I'll be tying a Texas rig back on here pretty soon and be working to fish that some more also. But yeah, that is my rod and reel lineup. So 5 rods, all 5 are Yakrods. I guess I did not walk you through my reels on the other rods. One of them is a Lews. I think it's a Lews custom reel. The other is a Kestrel chromium reel. And then I have a Abu Garcia Black Max on the frog rod. And then a Pfluger President, which I think is the 100 size, on the spinning rod that I have. And then all 5 of my rods I run braid on. So I've been fishing braid now for the last few years. And last year I really found a braid that seemed to work really well for me. Again, put it through a lot of abuse. It's held its color really well. I don't have issues with breaking off very often at all. Ties really well when I do tie a leader, which is not very often, but when I do tie a leader, I feel like it ties really well. It is suffix 832. And so my spinning rod and my BFS rod, I'm running 10-pound suffix 832. On my X chatter, I'm running 15-pound suffix 832. And then on the frog rod, on the X chatter and the jig and moving bait rod, I'm running 15-pound suffix 832. And on the frog rod, I'm running 50-pound. It might be 60-pound. I can't remember. But 50 or 60-pound suffix 832. Really worked with that braid a lot last year. I used to actually not be able to stand braid. I had a lot of issues with your fading, your braid just wearing out and fraying real bad. This braid really holds up really well. I fish a lot of grass in the place that I fish most, and this braid really cuts that grass well. It holds up through that. This has become my favorite line, and like I said, I'm running it on all of my rod and reel setups. So the last thing I want to talk about is thank you to the guys who did purchase some of my merch. I know I had my fishing shirts and my hats available, and ended up having several people that purchased hats and quite a few that purchased the hooded fishing shirts. thank you guys very much. That means a lot to us. It's going to be really cool seeing people out there wearing my gear. I am very happy with the new logo that we have. My wife designed this. As you can see, it's on this hoodie and on this hat. So again, just really want to say thank you guys. I appreciate all you guys that watch my show, watch my channel on a consistent basis. And I appreciate the guys that are new to it, that just started watching. It means so much to me and my wife as we start really expanding this YouTube channel. I'm going to throw out there tonight, we are going to be doing a live. So that's going to be tonight at 6 p.m. Central Time. We'll be doing a live, and it's going to be me and her talking about our must-have kayak fishing gear. So if you are looking at getting into kayak fishing and you want to know gear that you need to add, we're going to give what our top picks are. Now, that may not be what works for you, and it may be what works for you, but please join us for the live. Come and give us what your favorite picks are, or if you're not into kayak fishing yet, tell me what you would like to see. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. You can check out more videos here, and please like and subscribe. Have a great day.